Morning, everyone. It's with great emotion that I welcome you all to what promises to be an historic day for Italgas Group. Today we are setting a bold new horizon, one that will drive our sector evolution towards ever more advanced services on the path to net zero, while providing the country with a powerful boost in innovation, growth and sustainability. We pursue this goal with the strength of a vision that has steadily taken root over the years, supported by the sound decisions that have turned into reality. Today, we are crossing a new frontier with the same pioneeristic spirit that has distinguished us in the last 187 years. And this is far from being mere rhetoric, as we will have clear evidence after you have the chance to examine the plan and the scenario that Paolo and Gianfranco are about to present you. After all, there cannot be room for rhetoric in a company like Italgas, which since its foundation has always prioritized action over words, results over announcement, and true developments over baseless ambitions. The spirit of service is in our DNA, driving our contribution to the development of communities, a commitment we began demonstrating a full quarter of century in advance Italy's unification. Our true strength is the capability of a constant evolution, continually reinventing ourselves while remaining true to our core values. Before turning to the important updates, then Paolo and Gianfranco, that I pray to come on the stage, will share in the 2024-2030 strategic plan, let me once again express my pride in being part of this Italian excellence, which has now been recognized as an international benchmark. A company I have had the honor of calling ours for several years, and which will soon showcase in a video that highlights the group evolution into a one-of-a-kind network tech company on the global stage. Thank you all.
we are. Good morning to those connected from far away. Good afternoon for those in Europe. And thank you for joining us today. I'm joined here by Paolo Gallo, our CEO, Gianfranco Moroso, our CFO. They will run through the presentation today, as you all have seen, and it was introduced by our president today. And the second question, as usual, has got the usual formalities, so compliance slide. Please read it. And I now leave the floor to our CEO, Mr. Paolo Gallo.
No, però me la porta via. C'è una roba anche cosa. Welcome to everybody, and good afternoon and morning for the connection from US. It's a truly pleasure to be here. As you have seen, we have organized this meeting at the last moment. We could not disclose before to anyone what we are going to tell you today before. And it is an historical milestone for us, for the Italgas history, because as you know, and is going to be the first subject of the presentation, 2i Rete Gas, their shareholders, has accepted our offer of acquiring 2i Rete Gas. With that move, we are going to create the European champion in the gas distribution industry. And even more important, we are going to create an incredible value for our shareholder, but also for all stakeholders that belongs to the gas industry. It is evident that with the 2i Rete Gas, we will further consolidate the Italian gas distribution market. We will show you in a moment synergies that are coming from that combination. But we will also talk about digitization, as we have talked already for many years, but even more important about artificial intelligence and the application that starting from today we can apply to our system. The plan that we are going to present today is not 1+1 plan, but it's a fully integrated one. During the summer, in parallel with the due diligence that you carried out on 2i Rete Gas, we started to develop the fully integrated plan. And the results are the one that we are going to present today. Let me move to the acquisition, and then let me disclose something that has been already in our press release this morning, but I will give you more flavor to some of the data regarding the acquisition. The total equity value has been set to 2.06 billion euro. And if we add the net financial position, the enterprise value is 5.3 billion euro. If we forecast the 2025 as the closing date, the premium over RAB is going to be around 4%. That is clearly below Italgas' current market evaluation and recent M&A transaction. And in fact, we expect to close the deal in the first semester of 2025, pending the antitrust and the golden power and the customer approvals. If we look about the financing of the deal, we have already secured the short-term cash need. You know that we have already signed a 2.2 billion euro of bridge financing, already committed and syndicated by a pool of banks. This amount will be refinanced through a market transaction, similar, and 1 billion euros of right issue, for which a standby underwriting agreement has been already signed for the full amount. The capital increase is a clear objective. We want to keep and maintaining the same credit rating. And that the 1 billion increase will let us keep in the same credit rating. Regarding another aspect, important aspect for our shareholder about this transaction, if we compare the result of this plan with the previous one, the EPS accretion starts already in 2026, and it will go up to 15%, 1.5, up in 2029. So we have compared the result of last year plan with the result of this year plan. How we are going to reach this level that is extraordinary is because we are going to have synergies amounting 200 million euros in 2030. That includes saving, include operational efficiency, and include the implementation of artificial intelligence in the combined group. On top of this, there are another 80 million euro that are additional revenues from the increased investment that we have identified in order to bring 2i Rete Gas at the same level of digitization that we have in Italgas. The board of directors has approved not only the plan, but has also approved a new dividend policy that confirms the 65% payout ratio, but increased the floor from 4% to 5%, and moving the reference from 2022 dividend paid to 2023 dividend paid. Before going on, let me just remind you some numbers of 2i Rete Gas. On the left side, you see the recorded numbers, and on the right side, you see the shareholder structure. 2i Rete Gas recorded more than €500 million of EBITDA in 2023. They are operating a network that in terms of length is very similar to the Italgas one, different from a number of users. At the closing, we will acquire 100% of the company. Let me spend few words, probably more than few words, about the pillar and the rationale for this transaction. The acquisition of 2i Rete Gas is a truly transformational deal, not only for Italgas itself, but for the entire industry, because with that we are going to create the European champion in the gas distribution, on top of the fact that we are already, as Italgas, the European champion in terms of innovation, digital transformation, industrial expertise. Combining the two organizations, we are building a result that is not only the sum of the parts, is much greater than the sum of the parts. And for this reason, we are extremely confident about creating value for our shareholders and for the stakeholders of the industry. With that, we feel that is an occasion, incredible occasion, to accelerate investment in the gas distribution, but even more important, to bring the same level of innovation throughout the entire Italian network. The second element that is also important is that we are creating a player across Europe that can face the big challenges in terms of energy transition that the European Union has setting objectives that are extremely ambitious. We strongly believe that a fully digitized, smart and flexible network is the only way in order that we can achieve those goals. And finally, the combination of the two groups will create incredible opportunity in terms of value creation, in terms of innovation, in terms of synergies, benefiting our shareholder first and all stakeholders in the in our industry. Let me go a little bit more in detail, point by point. First one, we are creating the European champion. If you look at the number of redelivery points, we will become the first player in Europe. It is evident, but to me it's even more evident the fact that we are the only player that can address the energy transition throughout Europe, thanks to the innovation, the expertise, and the digital transformation that we have implemented in Italgas. If you recall the history of our industry, we have several times discussed with all of you about the fragmentation of the market. Still, it's an industry that is composed of around 200 operators. And to me, this fragmentation is a clear obstacle for example, for the level and the quality of the investment being different from one operator to the other. Now, with that acquisition, there is a clear opportunity to step up investment, bringing all the network at the same level. If we talk about asset digitization and the use of the network for green gases dispatching. On the right side, I try to list the activities in terms of M&As that either ourselves and Italgas have tried since 2012, when the new framework, when the new legislative framework has been put in place in order to consolidate the market. Because I would like to remind you that in 12 years, only 9 tenders have been awarded. So either ourselves, Italgas, and the other have tried to acquire some other operator in order to consolidate, but I think this is the most and the foremost larger one. Let me now move into the second pillar, the famous energy trilemma. We have discussed this trilemma several times, and I think now the trilemma has become the true question for the future. Not only energy transition, but also security of supply, and even more important, cost of the energy. Why only recently? Because I think before it was clear that the energy transition was addressed through an ideological position. And to me, the ideological position will never solve the trilemma, will never bring us even close to the net zero target set by the European Union. Only balanced solution, only an approach that is technological neutral will help us to reach this target. Gas infrastructure and the fact that they can decarbonize the molecule as well as we should decarbonize the electrons, gas infrastructure will play a significant role in the energy transition. But in order to do that, we need to have a big player across Europe. Players that are able to leverage financing capability, engineering capability, construction capability, industrial expertise, let me say more in general. If we move to the last rationale, that is our shareholder, and our stakeholder, I have to address the point of the value creation. Our history, Italgas history, in the last 7 years, we have proven to the market our ability to reduce cost. If we take a look at the 2016, that has been the last year in which Italgas was part of the Snam group, we have been able to reduce the OPEX by 40% in 7 years. That corresponds to around 15% 2016 EBITDA. I think we are in front of another wave similar to what we have faced during the last 7 years. It is evident that the combination of the group will unlock significant synergies. Let me say the traditional one: cost saving, procurement, streamlining of cost and processes, sharing of best practice. But even more important, digitization and artificial intelligence will make the difference, will create the majority of our synergies. These two elements will sum for the 200 million that I mentioned before, that is equal to 12% of EBITDA in 2023 of the two combined entities. So very similar to what we were able to achieve in the previous wave from 2016 until now. But there is more than that. There is not only the 200, there is another one, that is the fact that the level of digitization of 2 Rete Gas network is not at the same level that we are. Why? Because we have been the unique DSO that has implemented in so extensive way the digital transformation. There's no one else, nor in Europe, nor in US, nor in other parts of the world. If you take a look at the numbers, you will understand that 2 Rete Gas has a similar network length of the Italgas, but many more equipment throughout the network. The reason is very simple, it's very clear also. They are operating in areas that are less populated than the ones of Italgas. We have an incredible opportunity to create the largest and the most advanced network in gas distribution in Europe, overcoming the current technological difference created by the fragmentation of the market. And as you can see, we have identified clear steps in how to proceed to achieve this goal. Digitization of the network is the first step. Integration of the 2 Rete Gas network into our platform, Dana, as well as other best practice that will be shared. And it will be a process very similar to the one that we have already adopted for Greece. It will be larger, but from the other end, it will be even easier because it's going to be in Italy. All this initiative will create an additional CapEx requirement of 800 million euro, and this CapEx requirement will generate the famous 80 million additional revenues in 2030. So if you sum up the two numbers, the increased EBITDA, the synergies, the efficiency driven by this acquisition will sum up in 2030 280 million euro. If we look at some other numbers, and if you put together this number with the number of the acquisition and the price that we have agreed to pay, you can understand why we forecast an EPS accretion in respect to the plan 2023-2029 that is going to be positive already in 2026, so the first year after the closing, and will go up to 15%, 1.5, by 2029. To finish this presentation about the acquisition, let me talk about the timeline. As we speak, our team is already completing the filing to be submitted to the government and to the antitrust for their approval. as well as we are working to prepare ourselves for the necessary step for the extraordinary General Assembly for the capital increase. We expect that the closing will take place in the second quarter of 2025, and in the first semester of 2025, also the capital increase with a right issue will be completed by the end of the first semester of 2025. Now, let's move to the plan. Let's move to some numbers. Detailed numbers will be presented by Gianfranco later. But before going on, let me spend a few words about the scenario in which we are living. Let me share with you some of the evaluation that we are incorporated in our plan. First of all, let's go back to the decarbonization and the energy transition targets. In respect of years ago, now the cost of energy is not anymore an economic issue. It has become a social issue. The fact that with the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, many incentives have been given to the final customer, like each single of us. That means that the cost of the energy is spread not only on the industry but also on each single citizen. On the other hand, the targets set by the European Union by 2050, becoming the first carbon neutral continent, are extremely ambitious. And I think we can achieve those targets as long as we are pragmatic, as long as we adopt a technological neutral approach, and we avoid and we cancel forever ideological position. Because we need to achieve those targets, maintaining security of supply and an affordable cost of energy. And in fact, across Europe, millions of households and businesses are feeling the impact of the energy cost day after day. And now the cost of paying the bills of energy, whatever is electricity or gas, has become a growing burden. And this is not only because of the season, because of course during the winter the bill is going to be higher, but it's because there are multiple factors that are creating such a situation. Geopolitical situation, we know what is happening around the world, supply chain constraint, volatile global energy market, speculation around the energy market. Those are all factors that are creating that the cost of energy is becoming more and more important. Green gas development and energy efficiency can play a significant role as part of the solution to solve the famous trilemma. Achieving a sustainable and secure energy, at the same time achieving an energy that is going to be fully decarbonized. Leveraging all the infrastructure that we have. We don't need to build new infrastructure. We need to use the infrastructure that we have. We need to upgrade them. That's the way to keep the cost down. If we look at our national energy plan that is being just released, I think this new national energy plan consider all of that. Consider the fact that gas infrastructure, today they provide just natural gas, fossil fuel. They should provide new gases in the future. And we are talking about biomethane, we are talking about hydrogen, we are talking about synthetic natural gas. Biomethane that is considered zero CO2 or eventually negative if coupled with carbon capture and sequestration, solve the waste treatment in the same time they produce fertilizer as a byproduct for the agriculture, as well as CO2 for the food industry. So it's a true circular economy. So we may ask ourselves why we have not invested into that industry. I think that looking at the past will not help us to do that. We should look at the future, and I think now there are many conditions positive that will help us to develop this incredible opportunity. Hydrogen is of course the other big resources. We know the hydrogen is not energy, but is a vector of energy, so we need to consider that. But let me speak a little bit more about biomethane. The EBA is the European Association for Biomethane, envisage that Italy will be the fastest growing market for biomethane production. And in fact, our national energy plan foreseen that by 2026, so in a couple of years' time, biomethane will arrive to the 2.3 billion cubic meter, that is nearly 5 times the current production. Why 2026 is, remember that 2026 is the end of the national resilience and recovery plan, and there is a huge amount of money that is allocated to the biomethane production. We want to play a role, and how we are going to play a role? We are going to play a role because we will support new connection and how making our network fully digitized, fully smart, and fully flexible. On the hydrogen side, we know that the hydrogen cost as a vector is still not competitive, but we need a lot of research and development. And in fact, the amount of project throughout the entire world is enormous. We are talking about nearly $600 billion just allocated to development of new projects. Europe is playing a significant part because 30% of this amount is allocated to projects that are located in Europe. I'm extremely confident that the technology and the innovation will drive down the cost of the hydrogen. Hydrogen will become the vector of the future in terms of energy storage or energy vector, as I said before. But that is an area where we need to invest. In the same time, we as a gas DSO, we should prepare ourselves also to accept blending of the natural gas or biomethane with hydrogen. Let's just finish this first part with our strategy. Similar is very similar to the strategy that we presented in the previous year, with a big difference that our perimeter is much bigger than last year. So on the gas distribution in Italy, we aim to complete the digitization of the network. Our network, the Italgas one, will be at 90% digitized by the end of this year. And of course, we will start immediately as soon as the closing is reached with 2i Rete Gas to expand the digitization also on their network. It will not take so many years as we did in Italgas. The reason is that we learn from our mistake and from our experience, and similar to what we are doing in Greece, we will do much faster in upgrading their network. In Greece, we will continue in expanding and digitize the network. Water is another big challenge that we are facing right now, and we think that our tech competence will help significantly reduce the loss of the water. Last but not least, the ESCO business. Energy efficiency is fundamental to reach the energy transition goal, even though we listen there is not much discussion about the energy efficiency, honestly, but you don't have to decarbonize an energy if you don't consume the energy. That is the point. So you solve the problem right at the beginning. And we feel that energy efficiency is an important part of our plan. And finally, I would like to introduce a new chapter that is the artificial intelligence. And I will tell you more about the artificial intelligence applied to our company. I don't want to spend a lot explaining the artificial intelligence, but I will touch some of the key elements of the artificial intelligence. First of all, it's a game changer. For us, it's a clear game changer because we'll unlock opportunities in terms of operational efficiency, in terms of profitability across all the areas of businesses. It will help us to reduce cost. It will help us in a way that we have never experienced in the past years. It's not only a technological upgrade, the artificial intelligence. It is going to redefine the way that we operate, we compete, we manage the network, we grow. It can be an automation of our processes. It can improve our decision making. It can enhance our supply chain management. At the end of the day, artificial intelligence will eliminate inefficiency, will improve our quality, the service quality of our activity, will ultimately improve the profitability and the quality of our operation. I don't believe, and I don't have the fear that has been said several times that artificial intelligence will eliminate jobs. I think we'll change the job. The reality is that the artificial intelligence can increase human capability and can move the people from the low-value task to the high-value task. We don't have to forget, in the moment in which we embrace artificial intelligence, that we need to be responsible, and responsible is not only the formal compliance. I don't really care about the formality. I more care about the content of the compliance itself. We need to build a system that is fair, transparent, and secure. We need to have a system where trust is the foundation of our success. We need to be sure that the data that we collected are protected against any potential cyber threat. On the other side, artificial intelligence will change the way that the IT system will work, as well as we change 7 years ago, when we move our IT infrastructure from the traditional one into cloud. Why we can talk today about artificial intelligence in this plan? There is a very simple reason. Because we have created in Italgas a unique platform where billions of data have been collected, stored, and are ready to be used. Where all the processes, most of the processes, maybe not all, but most of the processes have been digitized. And we can adopt artificial intelligence because our company has been transformed into a digital one. Otherwise, you can talk about artificial intelligence, but talks remain talks, and you don't do any facts. So that is the big difference that we have in respect of other companies. And let me just picture the two waves that we have. One has been already passed, the other one is going to be the next strategic plan. Thanks to implementation to the innovative solution, I'm talking about the first wave, we have fully automated our network. We have our proprietary software that is called Dana that has been adopted. We have moved, I mentioned before, all our IT infrastructure into cloud. We have our IoT system. We have our data lake solution. And we have been able to achieve an incredible saving in terms of OPEX. Now we are moving into a second wave. And the second wave, I'm sure we will find other skeptical person, maybe not here, but maybe we will talk to them in the coming days, because they will say that the amount that we have identified in terms of additional saving and improve of the quality of the service may not be realistic. In front of them, I will tell, we have demonstrated when everybody were skeptical about the digital transformation, that the digital transformation has been the driver in the last 7 years in order to achieve the result that we were able to achieve. So I'm sure we will convince them with the facts. And we have already started working on artificial intelligence. We have identified more than 100 potential application across all the company. Some of those have been already partially tested and implemented. Smart maintenance, still at the very preliminary phase, or let me say, application to identify potential critical portion of the network that need to be replaced, or artificial intelligence able to remotely control on construction activities. But still, we are at the very preliminary part of the artificial intelligence. But think about, I will give you some idea about generative AI that can be applied to the project, to the project. For example, Picarro. We can think about that in a few years from now we will have self-driving vehicles that will go during the night to look for leak research. Self-driving vehicle, if you go to San Francisco, you will see already going through the city. So we don't have, as of today, a regulatory framework to use them, but it's not going to be so difficult to apply them, especially if you run the cars during the night, as we are obliged to do it in order to find leakage research. Things about customer support. For example, automated metering and billing application in order to provide on real-time data. This is two examples of many more that we have already identified that are not futuristic concepts. Some of them will be implemented very soon. Some other may need some regulatory changes that will arrive. In any event, the point is that we have already started to work on artificial intelligence and generative AI. Let's start having some numbers. And then I'm really close to the final point. I will pass the floor to Gianfranco. First of all, gas distribution. Gas distribution was, is, and will be still our core business. As you can see, we have more than doubled the investment in the gas distribution, of course, thanks to including the acquisition of 2i Rete Gas and including the investment requested by 2i Rete Gas. What I would like to point it out is that digitization, nearly 3 billion euro, is a huge number and includes what I told you, the need to upgrade the network of 2i Rete Gas at our standard. The core still will be the extension, the upgrade, the repurposing of the network, nearly 10 billion. Let me underline another element, that there is still a tender amount, net of disposal, but apart the absolute number, if you look about the percentage of the overall investment, it has been significantly decreased in respect of the previous plan, and that it's a way to de-risk our investment capex. again, I'm talking a little bit about, in order to explain more about this CAPEC, about the integration between Italgas network and 2i Rete Gas network. And we have looked at this network following a bottom-up approach, very pragmatic approach, assuming that the 2i Rete Gas network will converge over a few years period to our level. Of course, digitization is the top, is the core of the plan. As I told you, as I said before, we will work on the hardware as well on the software. So we will bring soon the network of 2i Rete Gas into our DANA system. We will apply, the implementation of artificial intelligence will be also carried out on the network of 2i Rete Gas. We will expand the use of Picarro. They have just started to use Picarro. I think they have a plan. They had a plan last year to cover 10,000 kilometers. This year, Italgas will do nearly 150, so more than 100,000 kilometers to survey our network. So you see which is the gap and the increase that we can apply. Of course, all these interventions will be beneficial in terms of efficiency, in terms of reducing the level of the emission. We will continue on our network extension regarding Sardinia, regarding the ATEM that we won recently. Our goal is to digitize the network as well, to be ready to accept all kinds of gases that will come to the markets. And for this integration, IT will play a significant role, starting from the adoption of cloud by 2i Rete Gas. Few examples of what can be shared between Italgas and 2i Rete Gas. The Nimbus smart meters, what we call EVE, that is the smart ever seen, is ready, has gone through the testing throughout 2024. We will finish the testing by year end, and we will start the deployment in 2025. In our plan, we will install by the end of the plan more than 6 million in terms of numbers of Nimbus. Will replace either the GPRS that is going to be discontinued by the telco and the faulty smart meters. Nimbus works perfectly also with 2i Rete Gas network, so also 2i Rete Gas will enjoy these new meters. The other example is DANA. DANA, after several development of the platform, DANA has been completed. Now we are thinking about a new wave, what we call DANA 2.0, that is the application of artificial intelligence to our system. Imagine a generative AI that can manage remotely intervention, call the field operator to be dispatched on the field, and close the intervention. All done by artificial intelligence. That is the future, but is not very far in the time, this future. So that is the second, the evolution of DANA into DANA 2.0. The effort on biomethane will continue because it's already a solution. So what we are doing from our side, we are making and we are testing our network to be flexible, so to be able to invert the direction of the flow. So eventually in the area where there is more injection of volume in terms of biomethane than the local consumption, we should be ready to move this biomethane back eventually to the transportation system, as well as we are working to reduce the cost of connection, waiting for the regulator to change the rule, similar to what happened everywhere else in Europe, where the majority of the costs are sustained by the system, and only a portion is sustained by the operator. As well, we are developing partnership in order to acquire expertise, and we are eventually ready to invest in a minority participation if it helps in order to develop new projects in Italy. On the gas distribution, last slide is on the tender. We have reviewed the gas tender schedule. As you can imagine, considering that 9 of the tenders only have been awarded in 12 years. The commitment for us is to continue to consolidate the sector. We have allocated 1.1 billion investment net of disposal, and according to the calendar that we think it is realistic. That is what we said every single year, but has never been so realistic in the past years. Let me talk about the other Greece, water, and ESCO very briefly. Starting from Greece. We acquired Greece in 2022. We merged the 3 DSO into one, into Eanon, and we are working very hard to integrate the Greek activity into the Italgas group in order that the Greek operation will be more efficient, will be more effective, will be similar to what we are doing in Italy. Our goal is still to expand the network, to make a network fully digitized. The same goal that we have in Italy, nothing different. The difference is that we have seen, for example, in 2024, a significant increase in the demand of connection, certainly unexpected in certain area, representing the fact that there is also the need to achieve certain targets in terms of emission, and in particular to replace some pollutant sources like lignite or fuel oil with some cleaner fuel that then sooner can be also fully decarbonized. We have submitted to the regulator a proposal to unify the tariff across the country because we feel that is efficient, fair, and equitable for all the Greek citizens. We are continually working in order to align the standard of Eanon to our standard, and we are very happy about the first result that we have already achieved, but that is not the end of the story. We will continue to share best practice, expertise, and knowledge with our Greek colleagues that I'm sure they are online right now. And they will also benefit from the artificial intelligence implementation. So the artificial intelligence implementation will be across the group, so including Greece. Few numbers of Greece. Reviewed investment up to 1 billion euro, that is 100 million more than last year plan. If you see the total capex is fairly divided in one-third, that is new monetization, smart meters, digitization, and extension and development. It's important because digitization is another big important element of the capex plan for Greece. Also in Greece we will apply the Nimbus soon, starting from next year. The targets is to reach nearly 1 million redelivery points, or million customers by the end of the plan, and a network that will be in the range of 11,000 kilometers. Now let's move to water. Our focus on water is stronger than ever, and the business is gaining momentum. It's gaining also some publicity over, not very nice publicity, on the newspaper about the lack of water, especially in Sicily. I will talk about in a moment. We are one of the largest players in the sector. We serve 10% of the Italian population, directly or indirectly. It is clear and it is evident that water sector require a level of investment that has never experienced before, but even more important, the quality of investment is not only the level, the amount, but the quality of investment. I think Italgas can provide a quality of investment that has never been provided before. And in fact, we are thinking about applying a DANA, what we call DANA for water, so similar system that we have developed for the gas to be applied also for the water sector. Our focus today is on two main areas: the use of the national resilience and recovery funds that has to be completed by 2026, and the digitization of the network. 450 million euros has been allocated as a capex, with the major aim to reduce by 60% the loss of water. Let me explain. The loss of water for us is the main point. I mean, we cannot deal with area where we lost 70, 60%. I mean, that's insane, especially if our loss in the gas is 0.1%. So the targets has been set for all the companies, and it will be achieved through two main activities: digitalization of the water, so understanding the real data, because in some of the loss there is also some other element, like the fact that somebody is stealing the water, so it's not only loss of the water itself. So putting a digitization network in place means that we will be able to identify where leakages are going on. So also Acqua Campania, that has a very limited amount of loss, should reduce by 40% their loss. Nepta, that is the Caserta one, that is now in the range of 60%, should reduce the water leakage by 50%. So the target is to arrive at 30% as a water leakage. I said that there will be two levels of implementation in order to achieve those targets. One is the digitization, the other one is the replacement of the pipes, using, at least in the next couple of years, the National Resilience and Recovery Funds. Siciliacque, same, 65% is the target. Acqualatina, 60%. Acqualatina is about 70%, 70. The loss of water, we want to bring them to 30%. So if you make the math, 60% applies to 70, will bring to 30% reduction. So that is the focusing that we have. And regarding the Sicily, we are fully aware of the dramatic situation that Sicily is in, and we are working hand in hand with the local authority to face this situation, not only for now, for this period, for these months, but even more important for the long term. What we expect in terms of numbers, I didn't turn the pages. What we expect in terms of numbers about the water, we expect if we... So you have, first of all, let me say that you have seen that we have treated the four companies, even the last two, Siciliacque and Acqualatina, are not fully consolidated by us in the same way. We are industrial partner, and we want to put our hands in the management of the company. We want to help the company to improve. So we are not financial partner. That's the reason why I have talked as Acqualatina or Siciliacque, as well as Acqua Campania or Nepta. So if we consider them fully consolidated, the RAB of this company will pass the 300 million by the end of the plan. Revenues will be over 200 million, and EBITDA contribution will be higher than 90 million euro in the same period. But remember, with the target that I said before, to bring in the water distribution, so I'm talking about Nepta and Acqualatina, the losses of water down to 30%. That is a significant effort. Last but not least, and I'm going to end this long presentation, is the energy efficiency. As I said before, energy efficiency is fundamental in order to reach the energy transition goal. And our goal that we announced last year, that our ESCO will become a tier 1 player in the energy efficiency, is still confirmed. Of course, you will not see in 2024 the numbers that we have shown you in 2022 and 2023. The super bonus has gone away. But I think we are big enough, we are a big shoulder that we can sustain our energy efficiency company to face the situation and be able to build a sustainable and strong future. Our idea is that we will offer to our customer solutions that are, of course, digital, based on artificial intelligence, with the aim to reduce energy consumption, generally speaking, so gas and electricity. Sector targets are residential, industrial segments, as well as public administration, if there are any nice tender to participate. We have allocated 300 million euro for organic growth and for small acquisition. During the plan, we will go back to 2023 results, so the results that at the time incorporated the super bonus. To present our ESCO, I wanted to present the result that our ESCO has helped Italgas Group to achieve in 2 years, only 2 years. We reduced by 15% the gas consumption in our industrial operation. We reduced by 33% the electric consumption in our buildings. And even more important, we reduced by 55% the gas consumption into our buildings. That I think are the results that we achieved thanks to our ESCO. And I think this is the result that our ESCO should present to the potential customers, saying we are not just talking about blah, 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 but we are demonstrating with facts what we are able to deploy and to support our customer. I forgot that now I have to talk a little bit about our sustainability, because it's also extremely important. I mean, we talk about energy efficiency, but it's part of the sustainability part of our plan. The first one is dedicated to the people. If we were able to achieve the result that you have seen up to now, including the acquisition of 2 Rete Gas, we need to thank every single person that is working with Italgas. And that's the reason why the focus of our ESG targets is the people first. Training is fundamental, and I think is not enough. I think our colleague Peter Durante has set a target that is not very ambitious, but we will do better than that, because I think that the training should be fundamental, especially in a scenario that is changing so fast. Imagine about artificial intelligence. We need to support our people to follow the evolution. Same as women in responsibility role. We want to see more women in responsibility role. So 33% is a decent target. We will do better than that. There's no doubts. And reducing the pay gap is a social responsibility. If two persons are doing the same job, they should be paid the same. There's no doubt about that. Gender cannot be the difference. Very quickly, CO2 and energy efficiency. Energy efficiency, we have already included the 2 Rete Gas energy efficiency. We have estimated what was their baseline in 2020, and we have decided to accept the same challenge that we have put on us. 33% reduction. Similar to the scope 1 and 2 emissions, 42% reduction. Of course, the basis is larger than before, net zero by 2050. So what we have said, we don't know exactly which are the consumption and the emission of the Rete Gas network, but we feel that they were similar to us in 2020. So if we are able to achieve, as Italgas, minus 33, minus 42% by 2030, it will be the same for the Rete Gas. Artificial intelligence solution, Picarro, will help us to achieve those numbers. And finally, Scope 3. Scope 3 has been the most challenging one because it involves our supplier. And the target that we have set for us and for Due Rete Gas is the same. And we will achieve that by involving our supplier through contractual requirement. So we will ask them to achieve certain ESG level. But even more important, contractual is one level, but is not enough. Even more important, we will ask them to analyze, to collect data similar to what we do, because that's the only way in which we can measure the CO2 emitted by our supplier. And we will extend that also to the Due Rete Gas supplier. Some of them are common, some other are not. I'm now ending the floor to Gianfranco. There's been a long presentation for the financial part. Thank you, Gianfranco.
Thank you, Paolo. So let me start the financial section of this strategic plan. I think could be a good idea with a recap of the full CapEx plan, including all the other business, not only the gas distribution. Commenting the bold number, it is quite clear that the CapEx is almost double, because we had in the past plan 8 billion, and now we are approaching 16. Of this 15.6, the main portion is the gas distribution, which remains at the core of the strategy, with 2.8 billion of capex, including the acquisition of Due Rete Gas. In order to make you the comparison more affordable, if you deduct from this 12.8 the 5.3 of the asset acquired, you arrive to a number around 9.2, which means 2.6 billion of more capex in the gas distribution versus the old plan. Of course, this is the result of the development jointly projected between Italgas and Due Rete Gas, because the plan, as Paolo explained, has been conceived as a, let's say, a combined entity business plan, and also the capex follow this rule. Few comments on the tender and on the other business. A tender, I think Paolo already mentioned it, but is worth to recall, as a lower impact on the total. The percentage is now down to 7%. It means this give to the whole plan more visibility about the future development of the RAB also. The other business, you will see there is 0.8 of what we call other initiatives, so water and ESCO. 2/3 of this amount is water, mainly focused on the existing perimeter. So for this plan, no significant M&A is envisaged, and this also gives more visibility to the development of the water sector. The remaining 350 or so is for the ESCO, the Energy Efficiency Company. In this case, we have more or less 2/3 of this amount for M&A activity, because the development is also inorganic of this business. So the result of this is that also the RAB, our RAB, is doubled by 2030. You see that we start from a 9.7 at the end of 2023, and we reach 18.2 without considering the tender, plus, let's say, 1 billion for net tender, you reach 19.2 billion. This gives us a growth rate, a compounded average of 10.2%, considering the tender, and 9.4% without considering the tender. Of course, in this growth, there is also the contribution of 2i Rete Gas, and you can consider, in order to understand the composition of this growth, the starting point of 4.9, that is a RAB of 2i Rete Gas at the end of 2023. Same trend, I would say, also in the redelivery point. We have a growth rate, compounded average of 9.7% across the plan, considering the tender that has a limited contribution, as explained before, 8% without considering the tender. Also, in this case, you can see in the graph on the right of the slide the contribution given by 2i Rete Gas. If we move to the P&L, so here we have a growth on the left side of the slide, the growth of the EBITDA across the plan. The growth rate is about 13% across the plan, including the growth of 2i Rete Gas, the contribution, of course, of 2i Rete Gas. We start from the level of 1.2 billion, let's say, Italgas standalone 2023, and then we have the contribution of the growth, Italgas and 2i Rete Gas, the synergies and efficiency that Paolo already commented, more than 200 million euro, both in terms of cost and in terms of revenue. So we are approaching the 220 million euro. And then you have the contribution of the tender. Interesting to see the evolution and the composition of the synergies and efficiencies that we have in this slide on the graph on the right side of the slide. In order to better understand the evolution of the synergies, you have to consider the starting point as a combination of the two cost bases of the two companies. So you will have the first bar and the second are the starting point of the two companies. Then you have to add the synergy, efficiency, and contribution made by artificial intelligence, and then a limited contribution of the tender. The area, as Paolo already explained, and the drivers of this significant amount of efficiencies and synergies are, let's say, leveraging of the cost, acting on the cost basis, on the combined cost basis of the two companies, basically the digitization, design to cost, smart maintenance, and of course the contribution of the AI transformation to the cost basis. All this translates into a double-digit EPS growth, considering, of course, the capital increase of 1 billion. Let me say that the EBITDA that I commented in the slide before, and all the action to reduce and optimize the operational cost drive to a 13% average compound growth of the net income up to the end of the plan, 2030. This is translated in terms of earning per share in a 10% growth rate through the plan, of course, average growth rate, that you see in the left side of the slide, and an EPS accretion, as already commented by Paolo, that it will be accretive from year one after the deal. So let's assume 2026, and double digit at the end of the plan, around 15%. If we move to the following, we have also designed and recap the acquisition financing, the capital structure of the deal. As you can appreciate, the deal will be financed through debt, of course. We are consolidating the debt of the target company, and we have also to finance with new debt the price of the acquisition and the capital increase of 1 billion. We think that this target capital structure is optimized in order to preserve current rating of the group, and also to deliver a material deleverage of the group across the business plan. And you can, as you can appreciate on the graph on the right side of the slide, when you see the leverage, the ratio net debt to RAB, that after the closing of the deal will recover to a very low level at the end of the plan, well below 64%. So this, the combination of the capital structure in terms of equity and debt, of course, will deliver also a strong cash flow generation in the plan. And this will result in the following, and this will result also in a growth of the equity RAB per share. Let me comment briefly on the cash flow. We have made this chart on the left in order to make you understand that if we consider the first bar, which is the financial impact on the acquisition in terms of debt, so excluding the capital increase, which is a negative, of course, and then the cash flow generated from operation across the plan, in an aggregate on the plan, which cover all the capex, all the dividend. So basically, having absorbed the acquisition in terms of increasing of the debt, the net financial position could be considered as neutral. Then you have the last bar on the right, which are the tender M&A, so all the things that are not, let's say, 100% predictable or under our control. So what is under our control is fully, let's say, under control, meaning that the net debt will be more or less flat, having absorbed the acquisition. And this, of course, this deleverage, this significant deleverage in the plan, will also translate in a growth of the equity RAB. If we consider the starting point of 2023, and you consider the deleverage, you arrive to an equity value calculated for the gas distribution increased of 1.8, 80% more. So let me just briefly comment on the maturities of the debt. We have put together the maturities of Italgas that you already know very well, and also the maturity of the target company, without considering the new debt that will be done in order to refinance the bridge loan. So the maturity profile is well spread along the different years. There is a large majority of fixed rate coupon. Let's say the cost of the debt of the target, of the bond of the target, is comparable with our. Of course, there is a slight difference in terms of rating and in terms of cost, but we are talking about some basis points, not a huge amount. So the strategy will be to keep this bond up to maturity. Let me also add that there is not any event triggering acceleration. So the maturities of the bond can remain as they are now up to maturity, and then we will refinance the bond at maturity with new bond issued by the combined entity. In terms of cost of debt, you have seen that we have recently issued a bond at 3%. So this is a good reference for, let's say, the upper limit going forward. I'm pretty confident to go below that. There will be also in the plan a large portion, a large majority of fixed rate, maybe an increased, slightly increased portion of floating rate in the last year of the plan in order to benefit from, let's say, a normalized steepness of the curve of the interest rates. Going to the guideline, finally. For current year, we are projecting revenues of 1.8 billion euro, an adjusted EBITDA between 1.32 and 1.35. EBIT adjusted is projected at 800 million euro. Technical capex around 900 million, and the net debt at the end of 2024 of 6.6 billion, excluding IFRS 16. The leverage will end slightly better than we forecasted before summer, around 63%. If we put ourselves at the final year of the plan, including tenders, we are projecting revenues slightly above 3.6 billion, EBITDA approximately 2.8, and EBIT of 1.8. The RAB will approach 19.2, and the leverage, as you can see, is improving and will end at 62%, like I explained before. Last but very important, the dividend policy that we have redesigned, also taking into account this important transaction. The main driver of the dividend policy remain the 65% of the payout of the net income adjusted, that in our opinion is the best way to make our shareholder participate in the growth that we are delivering the plan. What we have improved is the floor that has been brought to 5%, and the reference year, of course, now is 2023. So, to recap, the highest of 65% payout on adjusted net income per share, and the DPS 2023 0.352, 5% increased per annum as a floor. So let me now hand it over to Paolo for the final remark of this presentation.
Thank you, Gianfranco. If I have to do the final remarks, I will probably stay on 2 points that are fundamental for this plan. The first one is, of course, the acquisition of 2 Rete Gas. I mean, we have already told you what does it mean for us, what does it mean for the country, what does it mean for Europe. So I don't want to go through again. The second point is the artificial intelligence and the fact that it is based on a unique platform that we have developed. The combination of the two will create an incredible value, an outstanding value for our shareholder. But will also create the opportunity for the future of the gas infrastructure, in a sense that they will be able to be part of the solution of the trilemma. Security of supply will be guaranteed apart from the infrastructure, because we will distribute gases that are locally produced. Think about biomethane, think about hydrogen from green energy production. Is produced locally. So that will increase security of supply. The fact that we are leveraging AI, generative AI, digital solution, will improve our efficiency. And you know that we reduce the cost at the end of the day for the final customers. So that's the other element of the trilemma. And then the more the carbonized molecule will be injected into our network, the more we will close to the net energy transition. I think those are the main takeaways of this plan, if you want to be in a very short, with a very short terms. And I think this is going to be crucial for Europe and for the other operator in the industry to follow us if we want really to achieve the targets that everybody have in front of us. So thank you. Now I think Anna Maria will open the floor for question. Thank you very much to everybody.
So thank you. Thank you for those in the room and those connected to the webcast and the conference call. If you want to register for the Q&A in the conference call, please press star 1. We will start from the people in the room. So if maybe Javier, and then Francesco. If you can please say your company name as well.
Ana Maria, Javier Suarez, Mediobanca. Several questions on the transaction. The first one is on the synergies from the transaction. When you are talking about 200 million euros of synergies, are you referring to just moving up to Italgas standard 2i Retegas? Is that the source of the 200 million euros, or you are also including the utilization of artificial intelligence into both networks? So the thing that I'm trying to capture, if the 200 million euros may have significant upside just because of the utilization of artificial intelligence that you are mentioning during your presentation. Also, a related question is synergies are likely to be significant. Have you made an assumption on the regulatory clawback for these efficiencies during the business plan length? Then, second question are on the financing for the operation. So on the financing of the operation, in the numbers that you are showing in slide 50, are you making an assumption on possible asset disposal? Is that embedded into your number, or this is including the whole of 2i Retegas? Would you consider the utilization of hybrid financing as its own, which is the cost? That cost of hybrid financing is embedded into the cost that you are guiding to, that 3%. And also, I'm interested to know which is your assumption in terms of a date for consolidation of 2i Retegas. Is from the 1st of January 2026, so is second half of 2025, and the assumption that you are making on the remuneration for gas distribution in Italy beyond or from 2025. Thank you.
Okay, let me address the first. Should I respond or should I wait get more questions? No. I start respond. I will respond. Maybe I can or okay. Let me address the question raised by Xavier. I said the synergies are coming from two mainstream. The first one is very traditional. Streamline of organization, economy of scale in the procurement. Very, very traditional. But those are the minor ones. The majority will come from the application of the all digital application that we have developed, digital improvement that we have developed in Italgas to 2i Retegas. And for that reason, you can take a look what we have been able to achieve in the last 7 years in respect to the starting point. So we have not adopted a numbers that is different from what we have already achieved in Italgas. On top of that, it is the new part, is the artificial intelligence applied to both of them, to a larger perimeter. You can easily understand that if you apply an artificial intelligence on processes that are relevant to one perimeter that is smaller, the results also are smaller. The more that you enlarge the perimeter, the more the results are higher. So 200 millions it's even a little bit more than 200 million, so we rounded that to 200 millions, is something that we feel achievable, is going to be at the end of the plan. If you remember, and if you look at what we were able to achieve throughout the years, has been increasing year after year. Regarding the clawback, it's a value that we will give back to the system. You know how it works. It will take 6 years. It will be divided 50% and then throughout. I'm not worried about that because we have demonstrated, if you remember, in 2020, there was already a clawback to the system. 50% immediately in 2020 in reducing the OPEX recognition and the famous 3.53 that was corrected down because there was a mistake to 3 point something every single year. we have been able to continue to reduce our costs. So I'm not worried about that. And I think that is the contribution that we can give to the system, giving them back some of our efficiency and producing other. So that is the same system. The point is that the amount is larger because the perimeter that we are going to attack is larger than before. We have considered disposal. We cannot disclose this number. We consider the disposal that may be requested by the antitrust, but we don't disclose this number. So that the plan contains a certain level of disposal. In the plan, we don't have considered emission of hybrid bonds. So the cost is, let me say, the cost of the traditional combination of bonds, the financing from the European, the BEI, and other financing from banks. So it's a combination of that. The consolidation of 2 Rete Gas will happen the day after the closing. So we expect the second quarter to happen the closing. So we will start from that point of view. So will be 2025 will be just a portion of 2025, not full. We expect for 2025, we expect to a WACC of 6.1%. That is what we expect based on the current calculation. You know that the observatory period has ended, so we can make the maths, and we are at 6.1.
Next questions, we have Francesco Sala.
Good afternoon, Francesco Sala, Banca Akros. I have a few questions. As regards the deflator, you disclosed your assumption. I wonder whether your assumption includes the recent revision by Istat on deflators, and secondly, if it includes some, let's say, assumptions on the consultation document published by ARERA at the end of July. As regards the CAPEX, I wonder whether you include some public grants, and if yes, what is the size of these CAPEX public grants included in the numbers of the business plan. And as regards, finally, deflator, your assumption on CPI for the let's say at least the next few years. Thank you.
So as far as the deflator, we have provided the average of 1.8. This is the result of a value, well, the value for 2023 revenue tariff 24 is, well known, is 5.3. For the end of the year, we have a level, a value slightly negative. And then we have, across the plan, a value of 2.2 straight going forward. About inflation, you asked? So revenue tariff this year is 9. We have for 2025 a level of 2.5, and then 2% going forward.
The majority of the grants that we have included, but they are not, they will not flow into the RAB, nor they are not, let me say, remunerated, are the grants that are given to the water companies coming from the National Resilience and Recovery Fund. So you know that they are about 550 million euro for Acqua Latina and Sicilia Acque together. They are not counted into the RAB, nor they are not remunerated. The majority is there.
And next question from Stefano Gamberini.
Thanks for taking my question. Stefano Gamberini from Equita SIM. I have 4, if I may. the first,
you are setting the standard now.
Okay. The first regarding what are the implied tariffs in this plan. What I mean is, if I'm not wrong, I trying to figure out the trend of tariffs related to the growth of revenues that you have, excluding clearly the super bonus impact that we have in 2024. So I got a 6% growth of CAGR of tariffs, which means around 50% cumulative increase in tariffs. Am I wrong? Do you think this could be a risk or not? Also considering, which is, in my view, significant. The second is what is your assumption regarding the trend of gas consumption? If I'm not wrong, moving forward, Terna and SNAM national scenario forecast a decline in the region of 30-35% to 2024 of gas consumption. So, and 2030, if I'm not in the region of 10%. In your plan, you expect a growth of redelivery points of the combined entity. What do you expect, we can say, in the long run, considering a scenario that could be, we can say, more on a declining of gas consumption and the risk that you see in this kind of scenario for clearly your investments and returns. The third, if I may, still on the savings. Are these back-end loaded? Are front-loaded? You include 300 million euros of investment in artificial intelligence, and on the other 80 million euros of savings related to this investment, which is a return in the region of 25%, which is huge. Is that visible, and when could we expect the impact on your EBITDA 26-27?
Skeptical on artificial intelligence. We have the first one.
Okay. And the last question regarding the dividend policy, considering this transformational plan that you have right now, and such significant growth of EBITDA 13%, net profit 13% as well, and EPS 10%, why you just stop your dividend policy to 2026? Could we expect that this 65% payout is sustainable for the whole plan period until 2030? Thanks a lot.
Okay. No, volevo rispondere prima un attimo. Honestly, I have not understood your question, the first one. I tell you very...
I try to figure out what is the tariff growth, Italian regulated tariff growth in the plan, which is, in my view...
But which tariff?
The distribution tariffs.
Okay. But the
What is
distribution tariff are set by the, you know very well, by the WACC, the depreciation, and the OPEX. On the WACC, we have taken a view that is going to be 6.1 flat. On the depreciation is linked to the investment. On the OPEX, we have put a, let me say, efficiency year after year that will be reduced the OPEX recognition. So why revenues are going up is because there is a combined entity. So it's the sum of the two, and there is investments. The increase of redelivery point is not significant in the Italian territory, so I'm linking also to the gas demand. The increase of redelivery point is mainly driven by Greece. Greece is going to bring 300,000 new redelivery points. So, honestly, if I have to say, I don't see an increase in tariff. I see an increase in the fact that the perimeter, the RAB, the basic RAB, is significantly bigger than the existing one. So the point is that I told you, I mean, if you take 6.1 flat, if you do the depreciation of the investment and the initial RAB, and if you make some assumption about efficiency that has to be given back to the system, you will get to the numbers of the revenues that we told you. gas demand in 2024 is not down, at least for our customers. Always remember that we serve a different, let me say, in a different market than not the transportation. So we serve residential, we serve commercial, we serve small industry, very, very small. So 2024 is not down. As I told you, very limited growth in the number of redelivery points in Italy, significantly grow in Greece. And during my presentation, I told you, in 2024, we have already seen a significant and even unexpected growth in demand of connection in Greece. Not only in the new area where we bring the new gas distribution network, that is quite natural, but especially in the two areas of Athens and Thessaloniki, that have already, especially Thessaloniki, has already a significant high penetration. Well, on the saving, on the saving, I mean, I know that you were skeptical about artificial intelligence, so I cannot respond anything different. You were skeptical too when we were able to achieve all the reduction costs that we were able to achieve year after year. We demonstrated that we are able to achieve that. So once believe us and believe in our numbers. And I can tell you that 80 million, according to me, it's in the lower range of the number that we can achieve. Honestly, artificial intelligence is something that we don't know yet what is going to deploy, what is going to generate. We were very conservative, similar in the digital transformation, and we achieved much more than we have forecasted. I'm expecting the same stuff. So 80 million is probably, well, my people wanted to put 8 million. I want to put more than that, honestly, but okay, fine. I accepted the calculation, but it's going to be higher than that, I'm sure. I have no doubts about it. Once in your life, believe me.
It's more front-loaded or back?
No, it's not even front-loaded. It has the same profile that we have experienced from 2017 to 2023 in the previous experience. Same profile. That is not front-loaded, it's probably back-loaded. And again, we are going to make a mistake because artificial intelligence will be much faster than the digital transformation. The result will come faster, but we have used, again, another conservative approach. Qual era l'ultimo DPS?
Dividend policy.
In our plan, we have adopted the same dividend policy throughout the entire plan period. So the results that you see contain the same dividend policy. To respect the board of directors, we limited the application to 2026.
And if I may complete the question, is sustainable, the payout is sustainable across the plan.
We have Davide Candela, and then we will move to the webcast.
Thank you for the presentation. Davide Candela from Intesa Sanpaolo. I have 3 questions. First one, still on artificial intelligence. I was wondering if you can share with us what could be the constraints, the challenges for the company, and the risk related to the progressive implementation in the network. So it's difficult for us to identify which could be the level of contribution of that. If you can just share your view and what could be this kind of stuff. The second one is on the CapEx profile. Considering that you've seen the leverage peaking in 2025, I was wondering if looking at the investment rate, for example, for Greece or other activities you have in Italy already in your network, you are delaying some CapEx in order to give a shape of the investment that could sustain a deleveraging up to 2028. So the capex evolution would also be a bit more back-ended to sustain the acquisition in the first years. And the third one is about the smart meters, and if you can provide us some details on the rollout that you are expecting and the contribution throughout the years, also in terms of the timeline and the economic contribution. Thank you.
You know, the first question is very, it's very difficult if you want from certain point of view. What I see, that is my personal view, as a challenges is more is the challenges of the organization. So the full deployment of any artificial intelligence or generative AI into our process is the organization, in terms of the big challenge, because the people should believe in what we are doing and should accept that. Again, it's very similar to what happened at the beginning of our digital journey. At the beginning of our digital journey, our, let me say, personnel, you can divide them in three categories. The first categories, not a large number, very positive about it. A second category, absolutely negative about it, also limited number. Majority are just looking at what is happening, and they will decide to move on one area or the other. It's going to be the same. It's going to exactly be the same. So it is up to us, to the management, to drive the artificial intelligence application, to show that it will improve and it will make our day-by-day activity better, will let us focusing more on the important things and not on the, let me say, low added value activities that we have to deal with every day. Few examples, one I have already made it. Imagine that we have drivers of the Picarro cars that they drive during the night. The reason why we drive during the night is because the sun is impacting the result of finding the leakages significantly. So we are obliged to drive during the night if we want to make the best result. Imagine tomorrow there will be self-driving cars going on, and there will be the people will avoid to drive and will immediately intervene in order to immediately close the leakage. That's one example. Another example is the scheduling of the activity. Today we are doing the scheduling using an application, but still the human component is significant. Tomorrow there will be a generative AI that will optimize our scheduling, our planning, and will let our people do activities that have more high value. That is the way that we see artificial intelligence. So we'll not take out jobs, but we'll move the jobs from low added value activities to high added value activities. The numbers that we have estimate are the numbers based on the experience we accrued in the last 7 years in the digital transformation. So we just took those numbers. To me, those numbers will be bigger and the time will be shorter. If you think about ChatGPT, what it was 1 year ago, what is now. Even, I don't know if 1 year ago was already available, but honestly. If you think about what the evolution, the pace, the speed of the evolution, it's incredible. That's the reason why I'm expecting that this application will be deployed in a shorter period of time than what we have experienced in the previous wave. On the capex profile, we have not back-ended the capex in order to support the acquisition. We collected the number, and we identified the best when we can deploy this capex. Let me say that there is no significant working on that. Of course, you try always to manage properly the capex, also in relation to the possibility or to the authorization or the possibility to deploy this capex. So we have not done financial, let me say, exercise in order to move the capex back and forth and accommodate the acquisition. That is not the case. On the smart meters, the new ones, as I told you, by end of this year, we will complete the testing. 20,000 have been already installed, are working. Results are incredible positive in respect of the previous one. There is a huge difference. It's really another categories of smart meters. We'll start deploying next year, second half of 2025. We will start the massive production that will cover 2i Rete Gas ourselves and the Greece activity. The numbers are included in the 2.7 billion euro of digital investment. So you can easily multiply 6 million are, let's say, 150 euro are, it is 900 million. So it's 1/3 of the total digital capex are covered by the smart meters.
Also with a faster depreciation profile, it helped the cash flow, of course. So to come back to your, we didn't reshape the amount, but focusing on digital assets, basically, as Paolo said, we have more cash flow because the depreciation is shorter.
Operator, we can now take the questions from the conference call.
The first question is from John Campbell of Bank of America.
Yeah, hi, good everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my questions. It's John from B of A. The first question I wanted to ask is I'd like maybe some details on the split of capex in your networks that you're apportioning between 2i Rete Gas and Italgas. I don't think it's possible to necessarily reconcile that just from the slides you provided. Again, any expectations or indications on the amount of capex phasing per year for the group would be also helpful. I'd be interested in Italgas's EBITDA and net income targets, excluding gas distribution tenders. I think that's something you provided for analysts in the past, you know, EBITDA and maybe the CAGR or the total growth in net income would be helpful. And lastly, just a clarification for my benefit. Is your plan assuming that you will fully consolidate your water assets by the end of 2030, or is that a misunderstanding? Thank you.
Start from the last question. It is the simple one. Yes, the answer is yes. Fully consolidated during the plan period, the all four companies. Honestly, I don't have a details. I don't know. We can work it out something, Anna Maria. I don't have a detail of the split of the capex between 2i Rete Gas and Italgas. The reason is because we have developed a unique plan, so it would be difficult to say which is relevant to 2i Rete Gas and which is relevant to Italgas, in a sense that we have developed one single plan. What I can tell you is what I already mentioned, is that the delta in terms of digitization required by 2i Rete Gas to bring up the network level in terms of digitization to our network is about 800 million, so slightly lower than a billion. 800 million. That is the only element that I know that is, to me, it's evident. The split would have been that we have generated the plan making 1 + 1. I told you at the beginning that is not the case. We have a fully integrated plan. It's like asking which is the investment of Italgas in the north part, in the center, in the south. It would be the same. We don't have such a split. Sull'annual capex, we responded to?
Yes, on the annual capex, we came back to the capex profile. There is not such a big difference between the first 2 or 3 years and the last years of the plan. On average, we are in the first 2 or 3 years between 1.5, 1.4, and the last between 1.1 and 1.2 billion. So excluding 25 when you have the acquisition, of course. So run rate, more or less, the level is homogeneous. We didn't modify making the capex front end and backloaded. So there's no big difference.
On the EBITDA, without the tenders, a nice proxy can be 2028, because we don't have many tenders by that time, already fully incorporated. But we have never given any indication about EBITDA and net income targets without tenders in the past. We have always said 1 year, the year between the first and the last is a nice proxy, but it's not the right proxy.
Okay, great, thank you, that's very clear.
Next question.
Next question,
Excuse me,
please.
madam. Yes, the next question is from Bartek Kubicki of Bernstein.
Hello and good afternoon. Congratulations on this transaction. Definitely a lot of work for us related to this. 3 issues, please. First one, if we can somehow bridge this 2.8 billion of EBITDA you are now expecting in your business plan with 1.8 billion you were projecting in the previous business plan. So what is the billion difference? Of course, there's 2 Italgas, but what else is the difference in this? And maybe if you can provide relatively precise numbers. Secondly, on financing, if you can maybe elaborate a little bit more on the bridge loan for the acquisition, meaning how much more expensive it is versus a normal bond, and so what would be the impact on financial costs? And also, if you can maybe mention about the duration of the bridge loan and how much of, let's say, financial synergies or financial savings you can have on to Italgas, meaning whether they have much more expensive debt than you have, will you refinance it? What could be the impact on your financial costs? And lastly, and I need to admit here, I still struggle with this 200 million synergies, because if I compare it to the cost base, I suspect this will be predominantly impacting your gas distribution costs, while in your case, regulated gas distribution costs is 280 million per annum. So consequently, you are talking about wiping out most of your costs if you just put it in context. So to me, it's relatively difficult to understand how you can get to this 200 million, even if you include a larger parameter, and even if you include the fact that 2 Italgas has probably around 250 million of cost per annum, which basically means your savings is 40% of the company. And then also on referring to this, if we look at the labor costs constituting around 40%, I mean, it means a lot needs to happen here as well. I know you mentioned about moving people to, let's say, higher added value works, but still, you know, this number is relatively a lot versus the labor cost versus the total cost. And sorry for this one, related to this, do you expect any restructuring charges to be booked for those synergies? Thank you.
Fai tu il bridge, il primo e il secondo.
Taking the question of the bridge financing, well, it's let's say the classical structure. You have an availability period to cover you from the signing, which has been yesterday, basically, up to the closing, and then you have the possibility to extend for a further period of 6 months. And a seconda, sì. Okay. And subsequently another period of extension of 6 months. In terms of cost, there is, of course, a structure with, let's say, put an incentive to the borrower in refinance the bridge. The credit spread is more or less in line with our bond, so there is not a huge difference in terms of cost. Of course, the bridge depending on the time, have an increased cost. So it's quite likely, and we have assumed this in the business plan, that we will refinance the bridge in, let's say, before the maturity, of course, because before the maturity of the bridge financing. In terms of financial savings, we have, if you look at the 10-year bond of 2 Italgas and our last 10-year bond, more or less there are something like 20 or 30 basis points of difference in our favor, of course. That is reflected also in the rating that we have, that is, let's say, BBB plus compared to BBB of the target. So this can be assumed as an implied financial saving that we have, let's say, starting point. Then the fact that we will have a different, of course, an integrated group will allow us to exploit more and more the creditworthiness and the possibility to have also an improvement in the terms and conditions of the future bonds. Okay.
Regarding first question, first of all, I think 2028 I know. What was our guidance that we gave right now? Okay. The main driver is the gas distribution. That represents about 800 million difference, and it is mainly based by the fact that there is the enlarged perimeter plus all the investments. And then we have, as we said, the AI contribution, that is the 80 million that I mentioned before, and plus some other small items regarding the other businesses. So that is the bridge. For more detail, I will ask you to call Anna Maria, and she will give you the details. I don't know what you have look at the cost base. For me, the cost base of the combined entity is much higher than the number that you told. You can look at the cost, our cost, Italgas, and you can add the 2 Italgas cost in 2023 is much higher than that. I don't think 200 million by the end of the plan is so, is not the one that you have represented. It's absolutely achievable and is in line with what we have already achieved. So there is nothing new. You didn't believe us in the first wave. We demonstrated that we were able to achieve. You don't believe us in this second wave, we will demonstrate that we are able to achieve. So it's the same story. The same way, labor, we didn't have any in 7 years, any restructuring of our organization. No one, zero. So I don't know why you're talking about restructuring. Then you know that we are not allowed in Italy to do that, and I think it's fair not to do it. What we have done in the last 7 years, we have had a significant turnover, around 300 persons leaving the company every year because of the age, and similar number of the people coming in. But what was more important is that we moved the people doing stuff that was not really value added, like replacing smart meters, or better, traditional meters with smart ones. And we moved them to do other things much more from a technical content point of view, much more important. How we have in-source activity that previously were outsourced. Making an example, the certification of the big meters, the meters that are given to the industrial customers, that is something that we need to do it, was completely outsourced, now is completely in-sourced. So we dedicated our people to do the core activity. So I expecting that Italgas has done probably the same. It's done outsourced most of the activity. We will in-source the activity that to me are completely core. Leakage research. When we started Picarro, it was fully outsourced. Now it's fully in-source. We know that liquid research in 2 Rete Gas is fully outsourced. It will be fully in-source. So there is no restructuring. We have demonstrated that we can do that with no restructuring activity. And so there will be no restructuring charges as well.
Next question, please.
As a reminder, please press star and 1 for questions. The next question is from Alberto De Antonio of BNP Paribas.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my questions. I would like to first please ask you if you can say again the figure that you expect of the combined RAB for the Italian distribution at the end of fiscal year 2025. And then regarding that, you mentioned that you have already made some assumptions in terms of the asset disposals due to the antitrust issues. Does it mean that the current CapEx plan is already net of these disposals, or how should we understand that you have included in the strategic plan? And finally, and also regarding to the antitrust process, could you help us to understand what we should expect that is going to be the outcome, and how is the antitrust body analyzing the transaction? And I don't know if you have had any conversation with them, or what type of remedies are you expecting, and even if you cannot not give a figure, maybe explain how do you think the process is going to be. Thank you so much.
How do you want to see it? Dici tu la RAB 2025, beh, è semplice. Very simple, the RAB 25. While Gianfranco is taking that, I'm going to respond to the last one. That is very easy. We of course we don't have any. We didn't have any contract with the antitrust. We are putting together all the documentation needed to file the antitrust according to their we say standards. Of course, once that we will file the antitrust, there will start conversation between their office and ourselves. The process, according to the law, if I'm not mistaken, is about 4 months, plus an additional couple of months that they can have it. So we envisage an overall period maximum of 6 months. What we expect, we have seen that in past transaction that they have applied a combination of asking to dispose of some of the asset as well as putting in place what we call soft remedies in case disposal have not been achieved. So we expect a similar approach. We have seen. I think 2 or 3. I think 3 transactions that has been going through the antitrust in our sector. Regarding the disposal, for which we don't want to disclose, as I told you, because it's our internal evaluation, and they have been mixed into the tender. When we say tender net of disposal, means that the disposal are inside the tender capex. It's the way to cover the amount. And not to disclose this amount because it's our evaluation and it will be subject to the antitrust to determine the proper amount. RAB?
Regarding the RAB, normally we do not give a guidance on the interim RAB, but we give the guidance that we have given for the final figures. You can consider a figure that is more or less the sum of the 23 RAB plus the capex, reaching a level of above 15 billion, the combination of the two entities.
Okay, so operator, are there other questions, please?
No, madam. At this time, there are no more questions on the conference call.
Okay, so if no one else wants to register pressing star 1, we are available as IR team, of course, to answer any follow-up. And thank you. And for the investors that we are also connected to the presentations, we are looking to in the coming weeks to be again on the road. So I'm sure we will have the opportunity to meet with you.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.